Yeah.
So I want to transition and talk about
Sure.
the city of Lathrop specifically as it pertains to like your experience. Obviously, you married into the Deloso family, married your husband, Ron.
Yep.
Would you be able to speak to our audience and tell us about how your family came here, and or maybe just speak to maybe a minute or two about the history of where your family came from and how it interchanged with the city of Lathrop?
Okay, family as in Deloso family or family as in
You're rated.
me? So I was actually a developer. So I'm a land developer by trade.
Okay.
So I had been working for the same company in this on March 11th is 36 years. A gentleman by the name of Alan Chapman. And we do large land development. So I did a project called Windermere Ranch, which is part of Dory Valley in Santa Ramona.
Yes.
Okay, so you know that. That was one of my projects.
Got it.
And in 1989, when the city of Lathrop was incorporating, we were approached by an individual who wanted to do a project based on theme parks. And he wanted to do it as getting to be the 150th year anniversary of finding gold in California. So he wanted to do a Gold Rush City theme park and an animal park, and there was 4 theme parks involved.
Got it.
So he approached Alan, who, again, I worked for 36 years, which is well more than half my life.
Got it.
And so he approached Alan, and we got involved, and we became the financing entity, which in turn is how I came to Lathrop and met my husband.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a developer by trade and a farmer in practice. Which I don't know which one I like more, but I like them both. I love them both.
Okay.
But in any event, so we got involved in 1989. We worked with the city to go through this incorporation process. We did what's called a West Lathrop specific plan.
So that was all part of the process of the Gold Rush concept. Got it.
Yep. So it involved the island that we're on, which is a 5,000 acre area that River Islands is currently on, is called the Stewart Tract.
Yep.
So it included our land and also Mossdale, which is where the high school is and the city hall is, and basically all the development on the other side of the river in RD 17 area. So we did a entitlement document called a specific plan for the Mossdale area and for the Stewart Tract area, and it was called the West Lathrop specific plan.
Okay.
And the Stewart Tract, which is where River Islands is, was identified for construction of the 4 theme parks, and it did have 8,500 housing units and some commercial space. So that was in 1989, and we spent the next about 10 years trying to find a theme park developer, because what happened was when we entitled this project, we didn't own the land, obviously, but there was one farmer, and it wasn't Deloso, it was a different farmer who owned 4,800 of the 5,200 acres. So it was a gigantic proportion of it. It was a gentleman by the name of Henry Keekler, and there was
He owned that much.
he owned that much. So all this land that we're on.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And so we entered into a 10-year option to buy the property, meaning that in 10 years, we'll pay you a certain amount of money for 10 years, and in 10 years, we'll buy the property at a certain dollar amount. So we entered into that option in 1989 when we first came to town. We got the land and title for the 4 theme parks. We went trying to find a theme park operator, and that was at the time that Silicon Valley was just taking off. So the whole .com market was just coming into play. So we literally had people who could, invest $100 today in a new startup tech company and make $1,000 by the end of the night. So you had the day trading going on. Well, that meant brick and mortar theme parks basically fell by the wayside. By the time this 10 years was up, Marine World, which is in Vallejo, Marine World, you could have bought 50 cents on the dollar. So to find theme park operators here to build a brand new theme park, and the city had conditioned our entitlements on a requirement that 8,500 housing units we got, but you couldn't put a single house in until we had at least a $500 million theme park built.
Got it.
So we couldn't do anything except the one theme park to start with before we could do any development here. So it was a pretty stringent condition. So when we came to the conclusion that we could not get a theme park operator because the whole world had changed because Silicon Valley, we set out to change the project. So there was 3 individuals in town, Benny Gatto,
Yes.
Mike Bradshaw, and Apollinar Sangalang, that they put together a citizens initiative that basically said you could change the theme park first requirement, get rid of any obligation to build a theme park.
Change the structure.
Yep, and allow the development to occur.
Got it.
So what we did, we said, well, that's fine, but we still want to bring jobs. So what we agreed to was if we can get rid of that theme park first requirement, we will agree that for every house that gets built, we will set aside $5,000 per house.
Yeah.
That can be used as an economic incentive to attract employers into the city of Lathrop, and specifically into the Stewart Tract or River Islands project. And then what we also said is that we have a 500-acre or 350-acre business park at River Islands. We will not allow any warehousing or industrial use, because our fear was you put in a warehouse, you may have a 1 million square foot warehouse with 10 people working in it, and that really wasn't the intent of what we were trying to do, which was to provide a lot of jobs. So the Citizens Initiative went through a process in November 2000.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, November 2000, which is crazy.
Years ago, yeah.
We won, and citizens approved it. And basically, the citizens said, "We want jobs here. We don't care if they're theme park jobs. We want just jobs here." So when the citizens approved the removal of the theme park first requirement and the restriction of the economic development fee on every house, we set down to redesign the project. So that's when River Islands was born.
Got it.
Point